All right, we're now joined by Vicky of Signal 13. How are you?
Great, how are you?
Doing great. So glad to connect via Zoom. It's like coast to coast, bringing you right here. Video is always better than just audio, so I'm glad we can make it happen.
Absolutely.
So if you could give us a little bit of a background, I know you grew up on the East Coast. Talk about growing up and how you fell in love with music and who some of those first artists were that really did it for you, who you really started to, follow and collect their records.
So music, my family has always loved music. My parents loved the Beatles, the Monkees, the Stones. So that was always around in our house all the time. And I can't even remember not singing at any given time. And when I was in the third grade, my three little girlfriends and I went and met with the principal, and then we put on a concert for the entire school, the three of us, and I was in at that point. Loved it. Really started really loving music. Late 80s, early 90s, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, those bands really became a focus of what I loved. Then throughout the years, I still come back to that. I love everything about the 80s music. I think it's just fun. It made people feel good. It wasn't depressing, and it kept everybody motivated. When we started to create this band and look for our sound, I wanted something that kept people happy, that they could forget their troubles. It wasn't always sad and made people feel good, but with a modernized sound, and that's where that came from.
Yeah, I mean, I was a teenager in the 70s, same thing. So many of those seminal artists, the Zeppelins and the Who and the Beatles and the Stones, and, it laid the groundwork for the 80s, Obviously, the biggest difference in the 80s is MTV started to be introduced. So
absolutely.
Now you had these like videos, you weren't just listening to music and conjuring up these images. There was a video, which is good and bad because you kind of keep remembering that one image as opposed to kind of letting your imagination go a little more.
Absolutely. It changed how music looked at that point, because the only thing you ever had was album covers, and inside the album covers you would look and see, or on the CD you'd say, oh my goodness, look at this. That's what they look like. Oh God, isn't that amazing? And then all of a sudden you saw them on MTV, and some of them looked exactly the same, and some didn't look the same.
Yeah, I mean, there were some artists that were really born in the MTV generation, like The Police and Duran Duran, and a bunch of artists that were just perfect with their video styles and the fact that they were traveling around the world. They always had these exotic locations, so it kind of made it perfect for those, sitting in their living room wishing they were in Sri Lanka or Saudi Arabia or something.
Right. Exactly.
But
versus just in a little studio, black and white, shooting a video that was under budget because that's all you could afford.
Yeah, well, some of them did exactly that. I remember some of the most popular videos were some basic stuff, but you had to get creative. Well, tell us about your evolution, starting to play in bands and how it led to Signal 13 and finding these guys.
Well, when we all got together, so we decided, people were playing in various other bands, projects, both national and local. We got together, we went through some evolution of some different band members 2 years ago till I could find the right writing partners. Then I met John Lasseter at the fall of 2018. Came into the band, we started working together, started writing, and then Johnny Sex and Pat Jenkins, Johnny Sex drummer, Pat Jenkins is the bass player, came in September of 2019. John and I had started writing, brought Pat and Johnny in. Chris Starr is the rhythm guitar player, has been with the project the whole time. Came in and we started writing in October of 2019, and then released in April 17th, 2020, our first EP. And that's how that kind of was an evolution during that time frame. When you're starting a band, it's really hard because you just don't know. It's the chicken or the egg. You could write the best music in the world. There are some really wonderful musicians that their music's never going to get heard. Do you have a fan base? And everything you read, everything you talk about has to go back to that. So we started doing covers in some of the clubs to get a big enough fan base so we could get a following and play regionally out there, so we would have a fan base to start testing the waters for some of the original music. And that's what we've been doing. And then we decided to cut all the way over at that point this year.
Yeah, it's always that hardest thing, whether it's coming up with a band name or finding the members that really not only contribute musically, both on record and live, but you can also get along with, in these long stretches of travel, or, the 23 hours you're not on stage,
That's right. I always say, when we started looking at band members and we started talking, when we changed some people out, I said, could we live on a tour bus 24/7 with them? And if the answer was no, that wasn't the right person to be in this band, because eventually that's where we were headed. And if I couldn't write with them, you start giving people ideas and they're telling me, no, I would rather go over here and hang out and go have a beer over here and not write. And I'm pretty much full-time, full mode, trying to get this thing off the ground, writing, getting things ready. And if that wasn't it, that wasn't the same dream. We all had different dreams, and you need people collectively in a band all pulling the cart in the same direction at the same speed to get things where it needs to be.
Well, yeah, the work ethic is so important, because when you're on the road, everybody needs to multitask. You can't just be the bass player or the drummer or whatever. You have to be doing something else to contribute to that rolling, home on the road, or the prep or the promotion or the tech part of it. You got to, be multifaceted these days.
That's one good thing about this band with the lineup, it is we all have different jobs. Some of us are more technically sound, like we put together this humongous light show and had to get this all set up, coordinated, laptop so everything coordinates correctly. From that to production and recording, somebody is also an attorney in the band. They review everything. They also do a lot of the marketing stuff with our management, Chip Ruggieri and Dave Snowden. They work together like that. Some of us do more writing and that nature. One of the guys in the band also makes some of our clothing and redesigns it so it fits to the image what we're trying to create. It's a collective effort, and it's never you take a day off. Every day is the day you're working, because you never know what's coming each day.
Now, tell us about the EP, Destination Unknown, and what you feel you most accomplished with that, whether it be the range of types of songs or showing the different flavors of the group, or, what are you most proud of achieving artistically?
The biggest thing that I think we achieved in that EP, first of all, is we accomplished of getting it out there and picked one song, and we came to an agreement with our management team which song that would be, and we only released one song. I wanted to make sure we tested the waters with releasing it out there to the public, because I didn't want to just say this music's for everybody, and I wanted to see how people felt about it. That to me was the biggest accomplishment that we all could agree on. That was the song. The second thing that we accomplished in there, everybody plays multiple instruments. It's a very talented structure. And we were able to showcase some of those various talents throughout this, whether it be acoustic or keyboards or harmonica or different bass techniques that we tried in there, from a 3-string bass all the way up to a 7-string bass in some of these songs. Various things like that. It was a collective effort that we all worked together to get that done and made that happen. And we did it in a relatively short time frame together and got the support with all the other. That was the biggest thing we accomplished, which also taught us that our writing skills as a team were much stronger than we thought. And with the coronavirus being out here, we had been apart for 8 weeks. Now we're allowed to get in groups of 10 in this state that are 6 feet apart. We walked in the studio this weekend, not seeing each other for the last 8 weeks, walked in and wrote 3 songs, kabam, and that was amazing. With more ideas, in the works, because all of us had been writing the whole time we were gone, but it's just how it felt when we got back together was totally different than the first time.
Now, tell us about the single Dirty. I know it's multifaceted. It covers a lot of different feelings. But tell us, what we should know about what Dirty's about.
Dirty was originally about hard work. Baltimore is a blue collar area. Lever Brothers, GM, Bethlehem Steel has been here and was the key cornerstones of this area for working people. When we originally wrote it, we wanted to focus on all of us came from military, emergency responders, police, hardworking blue collar families. And we wanted to do something to dedicate to them. When we did the video, that's why we picked the place where we did, because it was built in the 1860s and it's still functioning today. And it's in the heart of that blue collar area. We then morphed that song a little bit based on some things that happened to the band along its way, practices, things like that, and then add a little sex appeal because everybody likes that, and made it what it is then. We wanted it to be a fun song. We wanted it to showcase some different flavor profiles that hadn't been around in a while, but modernized.
That's great. Now, tell us where you go from here. Are you working on a full album? You focused on another single? What's the next big move for single 13?
This weekend, we are actually shooting the video for Stay With Me. And then that will come out and be released sometime end of June, beginning of July, somewhere in that time frame. And then we will release towards the end of the summer another single off this, All Fired Up. And then sometime towards the end of the fall, beginning of winter, you probably will see the next EP come out from us, because we're already writing right now. Recording and writing with us now is like second nature. And if we get on a tour bus together, it's just going to be nonstop. I said we probably could have 30 songs come out of us, just how we write together. So it's good.
That's great. And I know this pandemic has forced a lot of people to, buckle down and be self-contained. Obviously, writing more. I know you write a lot. Obviously, communicating via Zoom and phone and emails and all that. As hard as this has been, what is the silver lining for you and the band? What have you been able to accomplish where you don't need the live venues and everybody mixing together at the moment?
We went ahead in the middle of this pandemic and released our EP, which people had mixed emotions about that. And I said, people are sitting at home, they're bored, they're going to want to see something new and hear something new. And we went ahead with it because we were just going to do it. And we've been able to get on a lot of different internet radio stations. We've been doing really well with Spotify. We have over 80,000 streams already. Our YouTube videos up to over 146,000 in 4 weeks. It's, we've been really well received, and we just keep talking to various people, we're doing various interviews, doing various written interviews. We just keep working it. We post, we make sure people see us all the time around on Facebook or Instagram or on Twitter, TikTok. We're just trying to stay relevant in front of people to say, hey, we still care about you. We don't want anybody to get injured coming out to a concert and wind up with this virus. That's the last thing we want. So we're trying to make sure we keep everybody at a safe distance so everybody stays safe, but they get to hear some really good music. We're working on right now some virtual concerts, and a lot to do with these venues that are now doing movie drive-in theaters, because it just keeps people socially distant perfectly in a car, talking about doing some of those as well.
Yeah, it's always exciting as an entrepreneur to think outside the box, figure out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like we know people want to be entertained. They love music. We grew up with drive-in theaters. We grew up with other types of, like MTV and other types of viral, types of performances. So I think the people that get the most creative might be ahead of the curve. So as this rolls back out and opens up, they'll be, at the front of the line, with so much great content and ways to keep entertaining the fans.
The hardest thing when you're a musician to me is not being able to give back more to the community, give more music out there. We have to work on how do we get that out there better and in more numbers, because some people are doing little concerts, some people are doing big concerts. I think working with various avenues of groups, people are more likely to tune in if we can get a group of us together and say, here's 3 songs from this group, here's 3 songs from this. It just helps everybody at that time. And I think collaboration is really going to be the key during this time frame, because if we don't all collaborate collectively together, we could lose a really good chance of all working together in different fashion.
Yeah. And Vicky, I know you've seen a lot through your years and dealing with different band members and all that. I know it's a different industry, but there's always creative youth coming up. You know, they love what you do. They want to play, they want to sing, they want to make videos, they want to perform. What tips can you give to them? What have you gleaned that are really some of those gems that might save them some time of how to focus or commit to, you know, this if it's really truly in their heart?
Play music every day. Make it like it's a subject. Do homework, whether you're doing vocals, do vocal exercises. You can't go out and sing your heart out for a crowd for an hour and a half or 2 hours without doing vocal exercises. And you need to cool down so your vocal cords don't get injured. That's the last thing you need. Play your instrument every day. Do scales. The worst thing I hate, I still have a vocal coach. And he yells at me all the time. You have to do 8th notes. You have to do this. And it's hard. And if I slide on a 50-point scale, he yells at me and says, start over. That's terrible. Nobody's ever going to tell you you're perfect all the time. Learn from your mistakes. Find out what you do. And learn rudimentary things. Learn how to count. Learn the music. Whatever music you like, whether it's rap, rock, country, jazz, learn what those musicians have done and count it, what the beats are, how are they doing it. Really understand it. It's a lot more complex than you think. We want people to be able to look at that, do your homework, then go out and try it. But you have to practice every day. This is the one thing, it's like golf. You can be the best golfer one day and the worst golfer the next. Look at Tiger Woods. Same thing in music. You can have the best singing, best instrumentation you've ever had in your life, and the next day you're like, I couldn't sing a note on the side of a barn. But if you work it and you work your vocal cords, you work with your instrument every day, take care of it, oil it, change your strings, get new drum heads, make sure you take care of it, because it will take care of you. If you really love it, it'll love you back.
Well, those are great thoughts. I always say you can't move forward surrounded by a bunch of yes men. You have to have that constructive criticism by experts that are helping you grow. Just like if you're playing football or basketball, if your coaches aren't yelling at you and telling you what you need to do better, there's no way you're going to get great.
When I look at the people who we hired around us, the last thing I hired, I said, if you tell me yes every day of my life, I'm never going to hire you. You have to tell me more no and tell me what I've done wrong. I said, I'll fix it. I'm a good student. I said, I will do whatever you tell me. But if you yes me to death, you're the wrong management team. You're the wrong group around us, because that is what makes you stronger. And there are times that it's brutal. And you have to learn from it. You have to find what from this brutal thing that happened did you learn? And you try and you fix it. You fix it and you move on. You can't dwell on it, because something else is going to be different, but you fix it. And you have to work with people that don't yes. And like my vocal coach, when I get done working with him once a week, it makes me feel like, okay, I need not to go sing another note. He goes, I'm here to make you better. And you're not even allowed to use an electric guitar. You got to use an acoustic guitar, and he gives you one note. Now you got to go 50 notes up and 50 notes back in one breath. That's brutal. Not go flat, not go sharp. It's the same thing with playing, on a guitar. How do you get to be faster and be able to tap? You got to move your fingers faster. You got to do finger exercises. I know that sounds funny, but that's how the big boys do it. Clapton, Page, those guys are all doing that kind of stuff. That's what they do.
Yeah, well, you are definitely progressing. We love the music. Can't wait to chart your success and follow up with your next big move. Vicky's been our guest. Signal 13 is the band. Signal13band.com is the website. The EP is Destination Unknown, and Dirty is the single. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Be safe out there. Look forward to seeing you sometime in the future. Bye.